Back when rental stores were still common, rip in peace Hastings, little me was always intent on finding something actually fun for his Xbox. Thing is that I was a stupid kid with crap taste, and so half my rentals were of movie tie-ins or crappy military shooters while I waited for the next Medal of Honor or Call of Duty. Every now and then, though, I'd rent something different, like Kingdom Under Fire, The Crusaders. Real-time strategy with an actionized edge the likes of which I'd never seen before. My medieval Total War obsessed ass was all for this gritty, heavy metal-tinged fantasy romp where you commanded troop formations from close up and fought right alongside them. Then I played it, hit a brick wall early on in the first campaign, and rage quit like the stupid child I was, stamping Kingdom Under Fire with a mark of shame in my memory banks. That would be the end of the story until both the Crusaders and its sequel, Heroes, popped up on Steam and GOG in 2020. Though I was hesitant at first, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to give the game another shot. Originally released in 2004 exclusively for the Xbox, Kingdom Under Fire: The Crusaders was co-developed by South Korean studios Fantagram and Blueside. As I mentioned previously, I'm playing the PC port from 2020, which appears to have been solely done by Blueside. Fun fact, this is actually the second game in the Kingdom Under Fire series after 2001's PC exclusive, A War of Heroes. While I would love to start with the actual beginning of the series, the current version available on Steam is loaded with so much blockchain garbage for the multiplayer that you actually need to disconnect your computer from the internet in order to keep it from hogging up valuable CPU real estate. So that will have to wait until I can track down a physical copy of the original game. Now that we're done with my brief tangent, The Crusaders takes the series into an action-oriented direction to better suit console gaming at the time, which is a fancy way of saying someone on the team played Kessen 2 and was disappointed they couldn't also get their Dynasty Warrior on at the same time. So, what you get is a game where you control up to 3, occasionally 4, units from an up-close perspective and directly control your leader in melee with hack-and-slash controls. There are a few things to mix it up, like unit abilities, magic that can only be cast outside of direct melee, and the rare mission that isn't kill everything you see. But overall, it's a simple, yet satisfying, gameplay loop of beating the ever-loving crap out of hordes of enemies with your chosen hero. Speaking of heroes, not that one, we'll get to that one later. The Crusaders gives you a choice of 4 different campaigns split between the humans and
the Dark Legion.
At the start, you only have the choice between generic fantasy hero Gerald and cliché evil dark elf Lucretia. Once you complete both of these campaigns, you gain access to the 2 hard campaigns, starring the somehow even more generic fantasy hero Kendall, and the Dark Lord with the sinister name Rainier. And we're just not even going to pretend that that's an intimidating name. Ironically, the obviously evil-looking Rainier is the sole playable character to have actual depth beyond what he first appears to be. The rest of the game is very what you see is what you get with its characterization. I'm gonna level with you. For all of the cutscenes in this game, for all of the story, I struggled to remember anything that happened while I was writing this script. There's an ancient heart that everyone wants sitting in the middle of the desert, but like most artifacts of this nature, nobody seems to know what the hell it does. It sure doesn't do anything of what the opening lore dump talks about. For all I know, things make more sense if you played the first game, but if that's the case, then maybe you shouldn't make a console-exclusive follow-up to your PC game. Especially if you don't name it in a way that makes it clear it's a sequel to anything in the first place. The good thing is that means you can ignore the story entirely and only be slightly more confused than the rest of us. Similar to what I did in my Dark Savior video, I'm going to be splitting up the discussion of this game from here on out between the 4 campaigns. There isn't really a plot worth spoiling to begin with, but I'll put up a spoiler warning just in case. Seeing as how the campaigns also function as a difficulty select, let's start with Gerald's. First of all, this intro. That's some good cheese. All the ill-fitting metal you could ever ask for while watching janky cutscenes try their damnedest to hide the fact that the in-game models can't move their mouths at all. Well, beyond the cow chewing on cud idle animation. It takes me back to the mid-2000s. It may suck by today's standards, and by the standards of the time, but I still find it charming in its own way. Thus begins what is for all intents and purposes, the tutorial. Why do I say that? Well, Gerald's missions are guided to the point of borderline railroading while slowly and steadily introducing more game mechanics to you. What else would you call it? And if you still don't get it, the game will bombard you with walls of tutorial windows on the map screen that you should probably pay attention to so you don't do something embarrassing like spend the entire campaign with basic units because you failed to notice that you could upgrade your troops as well as your heroes. Only a colossal moron would do that. Oh god, I'm so dumb. Speaking of embarrassing, what was the devilishly difficult mission that caused me to give up on the game as a child? Surely it must have been hellishly unfair. It was the third mission. Literally just a guided tour on how to use the spearman. Cleared it on my first try, and also my second try because I managed to screw up and accidentally recorded just the audio the first time around. I swear I'm not usually this stupid. But yeah, I have zero clue how my 10-year-old self had this much trouble with such a basic mission. I was a very inept child, apparently. The sole mission that gave me trouble this time around in Gerald's campaign was the final one, due to the introduction of the ridiculously OP Swamp Mammoth. There is nothing you can do to hurt this thing, and it will devastate your troops if you get too close. The only choice left to you is to escort slow-moving ballista just close enough to harm the mammoth. Oh, this is gonna take a while.
No one wants to play with me. Oh, I won.
Finally! Now I just need to go rescue Bucky Deathwish over here, and damn it! Time to do the whole mission again! Oh, you heard me right. There are 0 checkpoints in this game. You can save between missions, but that's it. For the most part, it's not too bad since most of the levels aren't very long. But when you've got a few long missions like, say, this one, oh, it can just be a little controller-snappingly infuriating. Alright, take 2. Killed the mammoth, now just run over there. Move as fast as you can. Screw the rest of our allies. That's the one troop that matters. Phew, made it. Saved them, and now to get my ass kicked by Rainier as the campaign speed runs its way to an ending. Well, that's just a giant middle finger. Oh well, on to Lucretia's campaign. This one was my personal favorite, not specifically because of certain ass-ets that'll probably get this video age-restricted, or that the Dark Elves have the super broken ability to heal while inside forests in a game whose maps are primarily forests. The real draw for me was Lucretia and her allies' constant bickering. I don't know who decided to have them act out a fantasy version of Mean Girls, but I love you for it. You have the bitchy, egotistical Lucretia, the ditzy, or is she, Cirith, and their half-vampire supervisor, Moraine. Rarely does a story bit go by without them snipping at each other with only their shared hatred of the humans they're fighting keeping them on the same side. And for extra spice, we're soon introduced to Lucretia's ex, Rithrin. Spicy!
Lucy,
What?
the sword. You still have it.
I told you. My sword broke.
You haven't forgotten me.
Don't push it. Try this crap on Cirith.
Lucy, I haven't forgotten you.
Are you guys at it again?
Yup. Can't help it. We were arguing whether Rithrin is a dumbass or not. I won.
I swear I'm this close to begging for a real Housewives of the Underdark. There's some actual world building in this campaign too. We learned that Kingdom Under Fire's warring Dark Elf city-states were united for the first time ever under the flag of Valand, a nation led by King Valdemar and kept in check by his vampiric servants. The Dark Elves, being the Forgotten Realm types, aren't very enthused about being led by anyone but another pure-blooded Dark Elf, and even then, you know they're still not happy. This resentment gave rise to the Cadies group, who seek to overthrow Valdemar. This comes to a head in Lucretia's finale where, you know what? I actually like this bit of the story. I'll let you find out yourself. In short, it ends on a note that makes it very frustrating that this is where Lucretia's role in the plot ends completely. I swear that middle finger's getting stronger. This campaign was also where I started to get a better grasp of the game mechanics, and learned of the seemingly broken, but absolutely necessary later on, strategy of giving my ranged unit and my cavalry healing spells. Since spells aren't accessible mid-melee, and cavalry can retreat faster than anybody, you can keep your units topped off as long as you got enough SP. In most cases, I found it harder to not have a ton of unused SP, since my officer's special attacks were never as useful as having full health. And this strategy became essential in the last two campaigns. Speaking of, I have mixed feelings on the structure of Kendall and Rainier's campaigns. From the start, you're given almost complete control over what units you bring into each battle, which provides tons of possibilities. But this runs into a couple issues for me. Specifically, since XP earned during missions is so scarce, I wound up relying on the same group of units and only ever boosting them. This did cause some headaches for me the few times I actually needed to use Spearmen or the Orc Axemen. Why are they the alternative to Spearmen? I don't understand! Both units, especially the Spearmen, are completely useless besides taking down cavalry, and you face far fewer cavalry than you would expect in a game like this. So, you either need to keep one of them on hand at all times in case the next mission requires them, or you do what I did, you just keep shifting one of your favorite units back and forth between the jobs. Another problem I had with this is that nearly all of the missions for both Kendall and Rainier are just basic defeat all enemies missions. Half the time you don't even get a real briefing or interesting framing for the battle. Here's the enemy, go kill them. That's all you're gonna get. Kendall gets hit with the worst of this, and as a result, he has even less of a character than Gerald. And what character is there is a jackass zealot who would kill a man who's fought alongside them for several battles now, simply for pointing out the obviously corrupt Pope, Patriarch, is obviously corrupt.
That divine will thing again. What a look.
Sir Dwayne, that is blasphemy. How can you claim to be an ecclesian?
Dwayne, your religious views are your own, and I suggest you keep them that way.
Religious views? Hey, I'll follow the Pope around out here, my friends, but not his religion. Maybe you'll receive something spiritual from Ecclesia or found a true faith or whatever, but not me. I came to Ecclesia to rebuild my family fortune, and I spent everything I had on bribes. Bribes, you ask? That's right. His Holiness the took them. Is that the divine will as well? We're going to the Holy Ground because of Heronodon, period. Let's face a couple of other facts about this war, shall we? He stands to gain some more influence on Heronodon. And me, I get to earn a just reward. Everything else is just noise, okay? So don't waste my time with your pious and naive beliefs, got it?
Not another word, sir. If you continue, your just reward will be swift and final.
Well, that's very Christian. Believe what I say or I'll hurt you.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah, I kind of felt like a bigger bad guy playing as the human leaders than I did while playing as the ones from the group that calls itself the Dark Legion. And that was before humanity almost ends the world halfway through the two hard campaigns. So, it turns out that the ancient heart was actually the heart of the god of light, Nibble. Not the god of the obviously medieval Catholicism-coded religion that all the humans follow, of course. That would be too straightforward. Nibble is part of a completely different cosmology that forms a part of a dualistic cycle of light and dark eras. And now, the era of darkness, overseen by the god of darkness, Enkablosa, is about to begin. My explanation isn't any less jarring than this revelation was while playing. Just suddenly, the Crusaders goes from a game about medieval fantasy warfare all the way to a cosmic horror story where you fight the same two units of monsters over and over again for the rest of the game. Oh, and all of this info about what's happening? It's being dumped on the player by Rainier. Turns out he's actually not all that villainous and was part of the last group that stopped Enkablosa's return a long time ago. And his real name is
Blood.
Yeah, I would stick with Rainier too. Thus, he and Kendall team up to seal away Enkablosa by destroying its heart. For reasons I don't understand, that translates to smacking giant fleshy cords in a fleshy room tinted so red that it gets hard to tell where your units are and where the monsters are at a quick glance. Thrilling! This is preceded by a slog through endless hordes of enemies that took me about half an hour both times. It takes about just as long to take care of all the evil chords of evilness, so you're looking at close to an hour-long mission with 0 checkpoints. I like this game. I had a fun time with most of it, but I would not begrudge anyone who decides that that's where they call it quits. You don't even get all that different of an ending between the campaigns outside of an unsatisfying where are they now text crawl. Kingdom Under Fire: The Crusaders is the kind of game where the core gameplay shines through the scuff of its surroundings. For all its faults, the shoddy story, the bland setting, the mostly forgettable cast, the comically juvenile designs of the Dark Elves, and that out-of-nowhere turn to a save-the-world plot at the 11th hour, I had fun. I felt satisfied overcoming challenging levels that tested me even once I started focusing on healing magic. Being right in the thick of it in big battles, keeping your archers focused on flying enemies while queuing up several cavalry charges before sweeping back to my hero's unit and tearing into my hapless foe was more enjoyable than it had any right to be. At the end, sure, I was sick and tired of the name Encablosa, but I was sick of it because I felt like I was being deprived of everything I'd loved playing up to that point. If you're at all interested in giving this game a go for yourself, you can get it on GOG or Steam for $20, and if that's too pricey for you, both it and its sequel Heroes, which I plan on covering as well, are on sale really often.
The Dark Legion.
Oh. Well, at least I know where that'll be on the fucking... Oh. Oh, that hurt. I swear to God, that better turn out funny.